The iPhone was about access. We were able to walk through a crowded Cairo market and nobody would look at us. And we would get this flow of people going by us.
I thought you were trying to get control of your life.
I'll do anything to get out of this place.
The original idea came very early in COVID, like in April of 2020, when I was reading a New York Times article, and it was about this reporter who was going from Serbia to France, overland. And, you know, it's the EU and all the borders are supposed to be open. And suddenly all the borders had armed guards at them. And then when he finally got through and into a city, there was nobody on the street. And I thought, I want to see that. And I wanted to see it, and I wanted to kind of put a story. I wanted to create a fiction story within this weird world. And I thought, well, how would you possibly be able to do that? You bring in a film crew, too big at the time. Also, instead of seeing the world when you bring in film crew, the world looks at you. You know, the film crew is so disruptive. So I thought the only way that you could really do it would be to do it on an iPhone.
I want you and I to run it together.
Doing what?
Gathering information.
Like a spy.
It's a big word. Maya, leave now. Go.
I was more dumbfounded about the going through customs or immigration, because obviously like carrying a phone is one thing, but it seemed like with the stabilization that you're on a gimbal.
We were not.
You were not.
No gimbal, just the holding the phone like this with a hand. Every once in a while in certain situations, like if he was running, he would put a little handle on it. It's the DP named Jackson Hunt, just to make his hand more comfortable. Held it like that. And so that was the way to do it. And that was, for me, I was like, you cannot have a gimbal.
No.
It cannot be anything that drew attention to us, anything that made oh, what are they doing? Are they doing something interesting or professional or whatever it is? Couldn't have it. I wanted to be completely under the radar so nobody would look at us, and so that we could shoot on airplanes, we could shoot going through customs and get away with it. And so the movie has this stolen aesthetic and this stolen method. And so those scenes on the airplane were filmed, they were stolen, full dialogue scenes, going through customs, just sneaking the shots, walking up next to her and grabbing it. And so the way we would work was he would be just alongside Phoebe or whoever the actor was, just with the raw phone and looking like he was just her friend, filming her for social media or whatever because she was a tourist. I hung back around, 10 or 15 feet, kind of watching what was going on. And then every once in a while I'd step forward and I'd be like, why don't you sit down? And, or why don't you go into that store? And then I would just drop back. Then the sound man, no boom mics, no lighting. So all just on a wire, on a lav. And then the sound man was 20 yards back, just with the recording gear over his shoulder in the bag. The AD was just sort of hovering nearby just in case. And then everybody else was just somewhere around the corner, nowhere to be seen. And so because we just, again, didn't want to attract any attention, under the radar, wanted just life to go on around us. The way we shot the movie, as you can see, is there's no conventional film language of a wide shot and then an over the shoulder shot and then a close up and things like that. We didn't shoot that way, partly because we didn't want to stand around and then eventually draw attention because, oh, what are those people doing? But also just we wanted it to have, it's out in the real world. It's not a documentary. We're very much in her shoes, but we wanted it to have kind of a caught live feel, sort of a you are there kind of feel. And so the camera just would, it was almost like the way you would film your child's birthday party or something like that. It's like they're talking and then they're talking, just sort of capturing the scene as it happened. And so the same thing for the motorcycle chase. I didn't want a close-up of the wheel and a close-up of his hand on the throttle and stuff like that. I just wanted to be in her shoes, in her experience. And so I really just mounted a camera in front of her face on the motorcycle. And I just wanted to watch her the whole time, hanging on for dear life, and also terrified that they were going to get caught, and then with no idea what those guys behind her were going to do to her.
I've been shooting stuff on iPhone. It's default set to auto in a lot of cases. Did you guys shut a lot of that off, or did you lean into it?
You know, we shot the app that we used for our image capture was Filmic Pro, and he literally pulled focus and things like that with his finger. He would holding it with one hand, and then with the Filmic Pro thing, he could adjust it, with his touch screen. We did not use any external lenses because they didn't work well with Filmic Pro. They hurt the resolution. We only used the middle lens. We only used the 26 millimeter lens, the medium lens. The other lenses just did not have the resolution and that we needed, but the 26 millimeter did. So we shot the movie all on one lens. So there were some limitations and some things that I didn't love, but I did love the freedom of it. I loved being able to just sort of like be up on somebody's face and then down on their hand and then walk across the room or whatever it is. So there's been other movies that have been shot on iPhones, and I like them, but most of them are very contained. And this truly is the first one that, is an international thriller shot on an iPhone that goes around the world, that has this grand international scope to it. And it's shot on the iPhone, but it still has the excitement and the gloss and the bigness and the grandness of an international thriller. And it truly is the first one.
Who are you spying on?
I'll never tell.